All right, hey guys. I found an easier method for setting up the audio, or at least I think it could be a little bit easier for you, with a lower risk of latency, which means delay in the microphone or any issues with quality. So it's harder to break this method, um, but it's a lot. It can be a little bit confusing if you aren't watching exactly what I do step by step. So first off, what we're gonna need is we're gonna need something called a virtual audio cable. It's by the same people who made Voicemeeter. And honestly, we're probably not going to need Voicemeeter anymore unless you can't get this working. So uninstall at the end of this if you've got everything working because you shouldn't have too many more issues. So what you're going to do is you're going to download the virtual driver pack A and B for the virtual cable. You can do all three if you want, but you honestly just need A and B because you're only going to need two cables. Okay. So once you've downloaded those, they're in a zip file together. So you're going to unpack them. I actually ended up deleting them because I was doing this earlier, but you're going to unpack them. I put them in uh, their own separate folders because otherwise you're going to have a mess on your screen. So you go into the file once you've unpacked them, and you're going to run setup by running as administrator, which you right click and run as administrator. It'll pop up on your screen. You'll hit yes. This should say install or install driver. You're going to click that. It's going to install it, and then it's going to recommend a restart. Just wait until you're done installing both. So install both drivers before you restart. You're not going to need these anymore once you're done with that. So after the restart, just delete them. You can always go back and get them later if something happens and it didn't work out the way you wanted to. If you're curious to see if it worked, you can check through your actual audio on your desktop and see, oh, look, I have cable A input. Perfect. That's just what I wanted. Oh, and cable B input. Perfect. Just what I wanted. And, everything else that kind of came with Voicemeeter, unfortunately. It's kind of how it goes. Okay. So next up, we're going to need to install something called ASIO for all. It's number 4, and you'll be going to this site. You're going to install the English version. It's pretty easy. You just click, you download it. It's a run file exe. Yes. I don't feel it's going to make you go through all this, and it does want you to do a reboot at the end. Um yeah. They do want you to close all your other applications. I do recommend doing that. Once you go through the whole setup with that though, you'll be fine. Okay. Then we're going to go into Reaper. Oh, hey, Reaper. It's nice to see you again. Okay. So over here, I've inserted a new track. I labeled it Draken because I got nothing better to do with my time. Um, so I would prefer it if everyone named their track. You can do so by either double clicking. I believe you can also, nope, you can just double click. So double click on it and name your track by using your name or your nickname, some way that I can identify whose track it is. Then you're going to arm the track. So right now it's not armed, and now it is. Oh, look at that. With this one, I wouldn't be able to hear myself talking back. When we're doing recordings, you need to be able to hear yourself. So you want to make sure that this record monitoring is on. And it's on if you hover over it and it'll say on, or it's grayed out. You can put it on auto, but I don't know what that's going to do, so I don't recommend doing it. So for now, I'm going to keep Draken's off because it's going to make way too much noise if I put it with my microphone. Okay, so we've set up our input. We've set up our track. Now we need to get the inputs. So here's the thing. The moment I go into options and preferences, you're going to lose audio. So follow along closely and we'll get this all set up for you. Once I'm out of the preferences tab and it's all set, we'll be good to go. And you'll hear me again. Okay, so you should be able to hear me again without any problems. So that might have been a little confusing, and I'm sorry I didn't have any audio to go along with it. So I'll explain this here and now. When you go into the Preferences tab, you have to select ASIO as your basically your software, your hardware software that you need in order to control all the audio on your computer. After you do that, you're going to go down to the next drop-down menu where it should say ASIO for all. If it doesn't, make sure you are on the ASIO software selection. After you select ASIO for all, you might not see anything in that bar, like in those input sections and the output sections. Also, please make sure you check enable inputs or else you won't be able to put them in there. Then you're going to go down to the bottom of that area to the ASIO for all configuration panel. And that's going to pop up that little thing. I can actually pop it up. Why didn't I do this the first place? You can actually pop it up outside of Reaper, but if you do that, it won't affect anything that Reaper's doing. So I'm just going to show you here what I did, but you're going to do this through Reaper. So if you watched and you understood, you can probably skip ahead of this. Otherwise, follow along with me. So you're going to go to Options, Preferences, and then you're going to make sure you're in Audio Devices. And that's where you're going to select ASIO and then the ASIO for all, like I showed earlier. So when you're in here, you're going to see it's probably going to be in a simple view. If you're in simple view, if you select anything, it's only going to select one thing at a time. We need multiple channels. So you're going to hit the advanced options, which is this little wrench over here. Okay, so you see a lot of other stuff. Don't worry about it. The only thing we're worrying about is everything on this left side. You want to make sure you're selecting your headset in here, and you're going to mark off your headset. And for example, with Arctis Chat, that's what I had it set to Arctis Game. That one doesn't have 2 channels. But if your headset has 2 channels, just check them both off, and you can do so by just literally marking the top button. If you don't go in there and change anything, it's going to mark all of them. So if, for example, if I just wanted one channel to be active in Reaper, I'm going to deselect the one that I don't want active, and the one that is active will be green or blue and have that little play symbol, the little arrow. So I'm going to actually turn this off in here because this is outside of Reaper and I don't need this right now. Next up, you're going to select those virtual audio cables. I'm not going to make the changes in here because I don't know what it's going to do. I mean, I'll try it. I'll see what happens. I don't know what it's going to do though, if I do it outside of here, outside of Reaper, because this is the separate program. This is not directly in Reaper right now. So what I'll do is, like I showed you earlier, you're going to select your virtual audio cable inputs. Okay. On mine, because it's being utilized inside of Reaper, I actually have the input marked. So you're actually inside of Reaper, you're going to decheck the out button. There won't be an X in Reaper. It actually will show that little play sign. The X is just saying like this is being utilized by another program, and because I launched this outside of Reaper, it can't use it. So you're just going to mark the input on cable A. Okay. So for cable B, we're going to run into an issue because on my computer, I'm using it in a different way. I actually have 3 cables set up. So cable B, I'm not going to do anything with this on this screen. I'm going to go back up to the other cable that I'm using that is being used to stream my audio from Reaper into Discord. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to turn on the virtual audio cable. All right. Both of them are marked off because they're both being utilized by different programs. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you where it's being used. I have it set, this cable is set to my Discord. Whichever cable you use to output from Reaper, for example, on mine, I'm using the virtual audio cable to output. So that's why you see virtual audio cable virtual There's no B, no letter there. So I'm outputting from Reaper into Discord. So if I'm doing an output, I need to unselect the input section. So what we should be seeing is the top channel device is marked, but the bottom one for the one that is going into Discord should be marked. The middle one, the one that's directly beneath this, should not be marked. So there shouldn't be, this power button shouldn't be on. Okay? I hope that made sense. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go right back into my options and preferences section, and I'm going to show you that again so you can see it and copy what I have down. Now remember, I'm not using just 2 cables, I'm using 3. So the one that is going into Discord is the VB audio cable, just that one. The one that is taking my audio from my computer into Reaper is both A and B. So if you look at A and B on mine, you're only going to use those settings on one of your A and B pieces. All right. So essentially, one of your audio cable output, one of your audio cables should look like my audio cable A and B, just one of them, one of yours, A or B should look like both of my A and B, and one of them, the other one, should look like my virtual audio cable. So take a look and do exactly what I have down, like what I have in the ASA overall. Okay. So from there, under preferences, you saw I went back to the input and output section. The top input should be the lowest number. It should literally be the first selection in the drop-down menu. On the last part of the input section, in the part that said first and last, you're going to go all the way down to the bottom of the drop-down menu. It'll just make it easier so you don't have to worry about selecting them individually. Okay, then you go down to the output section. In first, you just select the first option in the drop-down. In last, you select the last option in the drop-down. Okay, once you've done that, we'll move on. Okay, so now that we have our input selected, we should be able to set up our microphone. So on Draken, I'm going to go into this area right here, and I'm going to go and press down the drop-down button. Go to Input Mono. We do not need to be in stereo. It just takes up more data, and we don't need to worry about that. I'm going to select my microphone. You can select either 1 or 2 if your microphone has that. I'm just going to select 1 or 2. It doesn't matter. Actually, I'm going to select 2 because up here on Snow, I have it set to 1. So I'm just showing you that you can select 1 or 2 and they'll both work the same way. Okay, so now we're going to want to hear ourselves. What we're going to do is we're going to go down to the master track in the bottom tray. Hello there, root. We're going to click on root. Okay, I'm going to bring the center for you. Okay, so for you, this might not have anything in it. This bottom section under add new hardware output might be blank. So what you're going to do is click the drop down. You're going to go and find the stereo version of your headset because we do not have the master track set to mono. So we're going to do it stereo, or else you might only hear it out of one ear. So, for example, I already have selected my headset, so I'm not going to select it again. Well, I mean, I can. It's not going to do anything. It just makes it louder for me. So I selected it. Yay. Now I should be able to hear my microphone. As long as I have output coming through here, I'll be able to hear it. Okay. Wonderful. So now we have our master track set so that we can hear any audio that we have coming through on Reaper. Okay. We're going to add a new track. I'm going to remove this Discord track and I'm going to show you what I did. So I'll make a new track again. I'm going to put this back where I had it though. I'm going to label it Discord. And unfortunately with this method, it means that you're going to be, actually no, this is not even just Discord. This is computer audio as well, because we're going to send all of it to one thing. So you're going to be recording both your computer and Discord audio in addition to your track, which is one of the reasons I didn't want to do this. But if it's easier for you, then do it this way. So we're going to arm the track. And we're going to set it to the virtual audio cable that we have available in here. If you look at mine, you'll see that I have both A all the way to 8 and B all the way through 8. I'm only going to worry about the first one because you can select any of them, but the first one is just going to make it easy. So select A1, or if you have it just as the B, do B1. Okay. So I've set that. All right. Well, let's go to Discord and see what we have going on over there. Holy Toledo, Batman. All right. If you don't know how to get here, well, I don't know how to help you except say go to user settings, voice and video. Okay. Well, let's see. If I set my input device from Discord as, for example, mine is B, if I set it to virtual audio cable B, actually, I'm going to need to set that for, in Discord on the output section to B. Because what we're doing is we're sending all of Discord's audio into cable B, which is going into our Discord computer section through cable B. Does that make sense? I hope so. All right. And just to make this easier, since we're already here, we're going to set our cable to the other one that we had that we set. It's probably going to be, the dog is asking to go out and he's going to have to wait a minute. Okay. Cable output or cable output A or B, whichever one you haven't selected over here in output device. Mine would be cable output because I have that set to stream from Reaper into Discord. Okay. So let's get our audio from Reaper into Discord so we can make sure that our microphone is working. Now, here's the deal. We don't want all of the audio from our master going back into Discord. If we did that, everyone else would hear themselves and there would be such a bad echo, it would become a problem. So we're going to go directly over to the track next to it, which should be your name track. It should be your audio only. We're going to click on the route button. In here, you're just going to select the cable that's available to you. There should only be one. And that, well, not one in the sense, but there's going to be 8 versions of that one. We're just going to select audio point 1 and audio point 2. Whether or not it's A or B for you, it doesn't matter. So you're going to select that, and it's going to show up down here. Let's go back to Discord. Your input sensitivity should be going off. It should be green and lighting up. If it isn't, then we have a problem, and you're probably going to have to go back and check and make sure you did everything right. Okay. Or if it's not showing up, we're going to go then into Open Sound Settings. We can do it one of two ways. Let's open up the sound control panel. I currently have my inputs and under playback set as cable A is my default device and cable B is my communications device. Under recording, I have cable output, which is the one that I have streaming into Discord, set as my default device. So whichever one you have streaming into Discord, set it as your default device. Cable B is set to default communications device. I don't think it's going to matter too much, but you could do that as well if you want. Whichever is basically just going to be whichever one you're not using as the default device will be the default communication device. Okay. Sound control panel, we already did. Advanced sound options under app volume and device preferences under advanced sound options. Okay. In here, I'm just going to double check. Discord, I'm going to set it to the cable output that I want because I don't trust myself that I've set it to the correct default. So I'm just going to set it to the cable that I have set under input just to make sure that everything is working the way it should be. Okay. Now you should be seeing at least the input going green. If it doesn't, worst case scenario, save your Reaper and then restart it. Okay. Next. So we've set our output from Discord. What you can do is you can test it to make sure that there are sounds coming through. I've been having issues with the let's check button. It's not been working for me recently. So I go to notifications and I ding the sucker a little bit. It's coming in through none of my outputs. What did I do wrong? We'll never know. I need to double check. Okay. Sometimes it works and sometimes it don't, but it should be working. I'm not sure why it's not, because it was working 5 minutes ago. Okay. Beside that point, I messed with something I probably shouldn't have. Okay. Anyway, I'm just going to set it back to the track that I had it on originally. Okay. Now we're going to set our audio cable from our computer to the one that we're using for Discord for the output, which would be B in this scenario. Okay. So I'm going to go and I'm going to play some music. Okay. Well, it's working. Interesting. So I can see it coming through on my music raw thing. That's because I have this one set to A, which I have this set to B. So that means that I probably have to do a restart of Reaper. That's all. If I switch it to A, it didn't like that. So sometimes Reaper gets stuck in its ways, and if you go into options, sometimes if you go into the options and preferences, you can reset things so that they're in the proper order. That's actually effectively one way to restart the ASIO. I'm going to go back in here and double check to make sure I have sound coming through. Okay. All right, so I got Doctor Who in the background. It works fine for my computer's audio. I'm not sure why it stopped working for Discord. Discord just hates me apparently. I'm not sure why, but you can see here that I do have input. No more. No more. Nope. I do have input from Discord. So I'm not sure why my output's not working. So I'll have to fiddle with that some more and maybe I'll figure it out. But for now, everything else should be working fine. You should have audio coming through. Huh. Okay. I believe I went over the Discord output. No, I did not. Okay. Yes, I did. Never mind. Okay. So make sure you have that your input is set on your track only. Your master track should be set to your headset so you can hear all of the sounds coming through on your computer. Hopefully that was helpful and you'll be all set. I know that was a long video and I'm sorry. I think this might be a little bit easier than doing it through Voicemeeter. If it's not, I can always do another Voicemeeter video. All right. Thank you guys.